Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to a slightly soggy and damp Doune for this weekend's action. A round, of course, of the British Hillclimb Championship, the penultimate weekend. And not only that, we've got the British Hillclimb out this weekend, we've also got the Scottish Hillclimb Championship finale as well. You've been hearing John Brown on the microphone all weekend, and he's been doing a great job, so we're going to give him a little bit of a break, and I'm going to take you through some of the Scottish contenders. So we're going to start off with a couple of the double-driven cars. Off the line then goes Alex Howell in the Hillman 2.68, 64-foot time. So this is Class A1 for the road saloon cars up to 1400. Alex sharing the car with Jenny. Conditions are interesting right now. It's going to be pretty slippy out there. I don't think it's fully dried by any stretch. The track's been greasy and damp all morning, and it looked like it was getting better, but the rain's come back, and it's never going to fully dry under those trees, so it's going to be really, really tricky for everyone to judge the conditions out there today. As we see now, Alex heading towards junction, 37.4 on the split, currently 9th in class, just ahead of Jenny, so we'll be looking, of course, to hang on to that, maybe gain a few positions with this run. So 69.72 is what Alex is going to have to beat here. We'll see how they get on through the S's. Meanwhile, Jody Gordon off the line as well in the Peugeot 205, currently leading the class by a healthy margin as well. Just looking to extend that this time around. But here then comes Alex to the line. It's going to be a small improvement then. 69.23, stays 9th in class for the time being in the Hillman, but slightly increases that gap ahead of Jenny, so we'll have to see what she can do in a short while. Here's Jody Gordon then, heading out over East Bray and towards the S's. Jody once again steering in a car with Campbell this weekend, as he has been doing a lot recently, which is great to see the two of them out there competing together. But Jody's going to cross the line now, 55.87. Superb time in these slippery conditions. Jody, a phenomenal driver, and just proving that once again. Stretches the lead in Class A1. A couple more double-driven efforts coming up now. Jamie McKenzie in the Caterham 7, heads over East Bray, looking good on the sectors so far. This is Class A5 now, so we're looking at the road sports cars between 1400 and 1700. 3 in that class. Jamie and Guy sharing the car, two brothers, ahead of Lovett Fraser as well in the Silva, but Jamie McKenzie does improve as well, so 56.04. It suggests to me that the track is slightly grippier than it was this morning for their first timed runs. Of course, for these drivers doing the Scottish Championship, this is their second timed run of the day. If things go well today, they're hoping to still get in a third run by the end, so fingers crossed we can have an efficient event, and these guys will get another run later on, but there's a chance, of course, this could be the last run of the day, so it's still worth making the most of it, especially with conditions being slightly better now than they were earlier, judging by the times. See what Mike King can do, 56.69, so Mike's actually gone slower than he did earlier. He's been having a fantastic season in the MX-5, sharing with Father Jim, and breaking lots of, taking lots of class wins all around Scotland. And that's us for our first batch then. So, just the double-driven entries in the road car classes that have headed up the hill so far. They'll be heading back down. So we'll have a quick turnaround, and then we will see a slightly bigger second batch heading up the hill. So I guess we'll talk through how the different classes are looking right now in the Scottish section of our event today. You've got Ewan Bruce in Class J1, who hopefully we'll see up the hill very soon in the junior class. Absolutely brilliant to see juniors out here in Scotland for the first time this year. Something that is we've been hoping has come to the championship for many, many years. So it's absolutely fantastic to see the Bruces out in force, and Ewan's been doing a stellar job in the little MG this year, putting in some fantastic times. Really good time this morning as well in the damp, 62.36, only slightly off the record he set, of course, at the previous event here at Doune. So yeah, Ewan doing a superb job. You can see there the record 61.82. That's what he'll be gunning for. Now with the track being slightly slippy, it would be very impressive if he could take the record, but he's been improving, he's been pushing on, he's learning the hill, so that could definitely be one to watch. Class A1, hugely competitive, the road saloon cars up to 1400. We saw Jody Gordon come up earlier. He's definitely the man to beat with a 55.8. But then you've got Graham Shee, Campbell Gordon, Ian Wright, all within a second, rounding out your top 4. You've got Pete Lawton in the wee Peugeot, number 19 on a 64.00 in 5th. Then John Hamilton, Anthony Reid, Sam Shaw, and of course the Howells in the Hillman Imp. So very, very competitive class there in A1. We'll keep an eye on that one. That's going to be exciting to follow. Just a couple of cars in A2. Derek Rothney and Andy Smith. Derek's got a good advantage in that one at the moment in his Renault Clio, but we'll have to see what Andy can do in this next run. A3 fantastically represented as well. David Reed currently leading the class in the Subaru, but it's mega tight. The top three in this class, so that's David Reed, Tommy Rapson and Thomas Rapson, separated by just over 1/10 of a second between all three of them. So absolutely excellent. The Rapsons always closely matched. Two very powerful four-wheel drive cars, the Audi and the Subaru, and always closely matched. We saw it at Gosby last weekend as well, so it'll be great to see whether Tommy or Thomas will take the spoils there. But David Reed currently just edging it by about 0.07 of a second, so can't wait to see that. Then you've got a few minis in that class as well. You've got Brian Wilson out there, Jim Howarth, Brian Hunter, and then between them we've got Henry Simmons and Simon Rothney as well in the Vauxhall. So another really competitive class here. Plenty more to come as well. So, heading to the line then is number 12. That is going to be Ewan Bruce. So again, this is a class for drivers aged 14 to 16 years old. So you have to be a junior to be a part of this. And as I was saying before, it's new to the championship, and it's something that we were desperate to see for a long time. There's a lot of juniors that are really keen to get out there. So being able to facilitate this is absolutely fantastic. Ewan's off the line then, and this could be a record-breaking run. We'll have to wait and see. So 3.1 off the line for the 64-foot time. We'll see how committed Ewan is in these conditions. It's looking a little bit grippier than earlier, but still just not fully dry by any stretch. Ewan heads past Oak Tree. All looking good through Garden Gate. 22.34 is the split time, and he's 52 through the speed trap. So he's slightly down actually on his previous run, it looks like, so he's going to have to go some if he wants to break the record. He's now 34.17 through junction, so it's not looking quite as quick as his previous run. Heading now through the S's. So I don't think we're going to see an improvement here for Ewan. 62.36 was the time from earlier, so it's not going to be a record on this particular occasion. It's going to be a 63.14, so about 0.8 off. Maybe that shows the conditions aren't necessarily better than they were earlier. We're seeing a mixed bag at the moment. And Ian Wright is going to get things underway then in Class A1. So this is for your road saloon cars up to 1400 cc's. Ian in the Honda Jazz currently sitting up in 4th place. He's got a bit of a gap to Pete Lawton behind him, but he's fairly close to Campbell Gordon and Graham Shee up ahead. So let's see if he can bridge that gap and break into the top 3 positions. Looking quick through Garden Gate. Yeah, he's up by a couple of tenths from his earlier run. Heading through junction, he's maintained that. In fact, he's actually stretched out a little bit. It looks like he's on course to improve by around about half a second here, Ian Wright. It's not going to be enough, though, unless he can find some in the last sector to actually gain him a position here. He's just going to stretch his advantage, so we'll have to wait and see. As he comes through East Bray, into the S's, 51.19. So he's actually improved a fair chunk more now. We could be seeing a potential top 3 in the class here for Ian Wright, with obviously Graham Shee and Campbell Gordon still to go, and it's a 61.37, so he's just a tenth shy of changing positions there, is Ian, so he remains in 4th place. Then the others, of course, will go on and see if they can actually find some time on top of their previous runs as well. Sam Shaw now in the VW Fox, heading through Meadow up towards East Bray. He's currently looking to beat a 68.81. We'll need to find almost 2 seconds if he wants to gain any positions at the moment, but it says 57.31 through the S's. So this is looking like a big improvement then for Sam Shaw, is it? 68.70, not a massive improvement, but a small one. It's found a tenth of a second, so remains in 8th place in the class. John Hamilton leaves the line in his Rover Mini, but we've also got Graham Shee out there in the Fiesta. So this is the man currently 2nd in class. He's a long way off the back of Jody at the moment, but he's only got 300s ahead of Campbell Gordon, the man who's sharing the car, of course, with Jody. So Graham's going to want to find a bit of time here to try and stretch that gap. Looks like it's going to be a sizable improvement as well. 59.24 for Graham Shee, so that's actually exactly 2 seconds quicker than the first timed runs. So Campbell, you're going to have to find more than 2 seconds here if you want to gain that position. John Hamilton and the immaculately prepared Rover Mini heading towards East Bray, all looking nice and tidy. You can see the water standing up there on the cameras we've got. Again, very smooth through the S's. It's damp up there, but you can see maybe a bit of a dry line approaching when you actually get out of the tree. 64.76 then for John Hamilton. That's an almost 2-second improvement for him as well. So the times are telling me that the track is very slowly improving. Most people are going quicker than they did earlier. Obviously, it comes down to confidence as much as it comes down to the track. You know, it's even if the track was slightly slippier now than it was earlier, the drivers have got one more run under their belt, so maybe they trust the conditions a bit more. It's such a tricky one with a hill climb event like this. You've just got to go out there, drive and see how the track is. There's no way of knowing beforehand. Anthony Reid in the Datsun Cherry will be next across the line, looking to improve on a 67.0, and does so with a 66.13. It's not going to be any position change there. Going to remain 7th in class in what is a very competitive class, of course. So we've got Jenny Howell still to come. Pete Lawton currently on the hill, heading through Meadow in the 106, and we've still got Campbell Gordon, of course, as well. And then we'll move on to Class A2. Derek Crofty on the line. Pete Lawton through the S's, looking to beat a 64.0. 61.93, so that's a great time from Pete. Really closes the gap to Ian Wright up in 4th, but not quite enough to take that position, so remains 5th in class. More evidence perhaps that the track is drying, and you can see on the cameras we've got, it's just not quite a dry line emerging, but there's a slight change in the colour of the tarmac, so it would suggest to me that the grip levels are just getting there. There's still little damp patches of standing water. Andy Smith heading towards the line in his Clio 172. It's going to be a 62.38, so a couple of seconds quicker for Andy, competing in A2 now. So we've not seen Campbell Gordon yet. We'll have to wait and see when he's going to get out, but of course, being a double-driven car, it might just be further down in the queue. But Derek Rothley now pushing as he heads through towards the S's. 53.22 this morning from Derek. Quick as always, absolutely on the limits of that Renault Clio. Understeering a little bit as he came through the final corner. It's going to be an improvement though for Derek, just a 1/10 of a second, 53.12. Still about 4 seconds or so off the class record here, but that's no mean feat given the conditions. Record still held in A2 actually by Sandy Coggle in his Rover 200 back in 2013, so that's an 11-year-old record. Sandy, an incredible driver. Meanwhile, here's Brian Wilson in his Mini Cooper. He was running well this morning. 4th in class, fastest of the Minis. Looking to be at 57.85, and it's going to be a 56.60 for Brian, which I'm sure he'll be chuffed enough with, retaining his 4th place in the class. Jim Howarth in the Mini as well, coming up through Meadow. Everyone looking really neat and tidy. There's the drivers, no clear mistakes that I'm seeing on the stream, at least here for the sections of the road that we can actually see them on. Might be a different tale for those of you up on the hill, seeing the drivers having big moments that we're not quite catching, but everything looks very neat and tidy from where I'm sitting, so they're obviously behaving for the cameras. Jim Howarth then through the S's, looking a little more tentative than Brian. 65.24 to beat, and it's going to be a 62.57, so a nice improvement. And that definitely sounds like Tommy Rapson leaving the line in the Audi TT. This is Rapson Senior, and that sound you heard from the microphone was Rapson Junior in the Subaru. And oh, just as I said, there was no mistake. Simon Rothney runs a little bit deep at the top of East Bray. All good though, gets it back on the road. Would have lost maybe half a second, just getting out of the grass. Understeer definitely prominent in that Astra. And it's still going to be an improvement on the time though for Simon, 58.60, but obviously there's more in the tank there if you can keep it neat and tidy. This is the big battle now though at the top of A3. You've got the Rapsons and David Reid. First of all, Tommy Rapson in the Audi TT then. He's purple through junction, so it's looking good so far. Obviously, these guys split by less than 2/10, so we expect to see big improvements from all of them considering the conditions. All-wheel drive cars suiting these damp conditions slightly more. And Tommy Rapson's going to cross the line. It's going to be an improvement, 53.05. Takes the class lead by about 3.5 tenths. But what's Thomas Rapson going to have to say about that? Nice and wide, using all of the road there for Thomas through Meadow, over East Bray, bouncing the Subaru out there and through into the S's. He's looking very committed. It's purple at the moment for Thomas Rapson, so we could see this dip into the 52s here. Gets the power on a bit sideways out the last corner, and it is going to be a 52.58 for Thomas Rapson. So that's a stamp of authority on A3. Moving into the lead there, half a second ahead of Tommy. Derek Rothney, by the way, 53.12. So if Derek in his A2 Clio was in this A3 class, he'd be right in the mix with these four-wheel drive machines. And David Reed will be off the line soon, but meanwhile we've got a couple more from Class A2 now. So Henry Simmons in his Renault Megane Trophy, 50.97 through the S's. On to the final straight then for Henry. Is it going to be an improvement on his 63.4? It is indeed. So he moves up to 6th in the class. Slipping ahead of Jim Howarth in the Mini. Another Mini now on circuit, Brian Hunter. And David Reed off the line. You can see the 64-foot time there for the Subaru. Very impressive. The four-wheel drive really helping him out here in the slippy conditions. So let's keep an eye on that one, of course. Looking to take honours in Class A3, but Brian Hunter now at the moment tail-ending the class on a 66.5, so he'll be looking to improve. Out of the last corner, if he gets below a 62.5, he's going to improve on Jim Howarth's position, and he does. 61.27, actually jumps ahead of Henry Simmons as well in the Megane. So great run there for Brian Hunter, finding a few positions. Not enough to challenge Brian Wilson in the leading Mini at the moment though. David Reed is looking mega. He's purple all the way through on this run, so we could well see him drop below Thomas Rapson's time. So 3 lead changes potentially in 3 runs here for A3. David Reed looking for a 52.58. It's going to be, he's not done it, 52.74. He lost a little bit of time there through the S's. Just the commitment from Thomas Rapson. We saw him sliding the Subaru, making the difference, and Reed slots into 2nd. So it's Thomas Rapson with a 52.58, David Reed 52.74, and then 3rd in class, Tommy Rapson on a 53.05, but brilliant competition for honours in A3. Moving on now to A5, and that's Lovett Fraser in the Striker. Come through the final corner, Toyota engine in this one. A little bit of a wiggle out the last corner. Towards the line is going to be an improvement for Lovett, 57.76. Puts him just ahead of Guy McKenzie, but Guy has still got to do his second timed run, so based on the progression of the surface, I think we could see Guy jump ahead of Lovett once again, but I think he'll be happy enough with that. Jim Sugden next on the hill, and that'll be Class 8 for the Mark Sports Cars. Jim in the GTM Libre, one of these unique machines that there's a good chance you'll never have seen one of these before. Definitely worth a look in the paddock. Ask Jim all the questions you want about this car. It's really, really interesting. But he's going to be coming through the final corner now, looking to improve on his 65.37, and I think it's going to be pretty close. 65.62, doesn't quite find it, and he's up against Neil Ross in the Porsche Boxster. The only 2 cars in Class A8. Neil leading that one on a 59.55, looking good so far on this run as well to improve on that. Stuart Dow on the hill in his Caterham Hayabusa. Meanwhile, Neil Ross looking very strong, purple in all sectors so far through the last corner. Can he beat a 59.55? I think he definitely will. It's going to be a 58.84 then for Neil Ross. Beautifully prepared car for Stuart. Stuart 43.59 to the S's. This is a jump back now to, in fact this is a jump forward to Class B5. Stuart in the class on his own at the moment and doesn't improve on that run, 52.46. Not quite as quick as his 51.9 from this morning. Stuart been running incredibly well this season. He's got the class record there, you can see in B5, but also he's been doing really well across a number of events in Scotland this year. The Caterham well set up, and Stuart a fantastic driver, lots of experience, and he's been proving it all season. Now jumping back to A6, so that's John Welsh in the Westfield XTR2. Car's got a lot of power, turbocharger on board, but also a lot of lag, so it's going to be very, very tricky in these damp conditions. It looks like he's going to improve on his current time though, 70.31. Taking it nice and easy through the last corner just to make sure he doesn't spin up the rears, and he's going to cross the line, 64.71 there, so big improvement for Welshie. Still to see James King in the in A9. Say James. It's James on my form, but we all know him as Jim. Kenneth Sutherland, next one to cross the line then, heading through the S's, looking all nice and tidy in the GBS, immaculately prepared car, and Kenneth going to improve to a 61.25. Sharing the car with Ross Sutherland as well, although Ross didn't do his first timed run. He did do his practice run, and Ross was quicker, so we'll have to see if Ross is going to come out to play this afternoon. And here are then the final runners from A1, so this is the double-driven cars that we're probably stuck in a queue somewhere in the paddock and are just about getting back out now. So we've got Jenny Howells on the road in the Imp. Conditions, again, I stand by the fact, I think they are slowly improving, so it wouldn't be surprising to me here if Jenny can find a little bit of time here and maybe jump ahead of Alex, but we'll have to wait and see. 57.02 through the S's. See if we can get the splits up. Coming towards the line now is Jenny, and yeah, it's going to be an improvement here, surely. 69.03, so she does jump ahead of Alex by 0.2 of a second into 9th place, so a fantastic Hillman Imp battle there going on in A1. Great battles at the top and the bottom of the class. And here we have Campbell Gordon. So Campbell in 3rd at the moment. He just needs to find, well, I say just, he needs to find a couple of seconds to get ahead of Graham Shee, but Jodie's proven the car can do it. So Campbell knows that the grip's there. The wipers are on as well. So psychologically that's not going to help you push too hard, but he's done a 49.91 to the S's. How's that comparing to Graham Shee? He's down on Graham Shee at the moment, so it looks like it's not going to be a position improvement. It's going to be a 60.03, so it does find over a second, but it's not enough. So Campbell Gordon remains 3rd in class, just stretches that gap ahead of Ian Wright, and that brings to an end the runners in class A1. Guy McKenzie now, so this is back to A5. Guy, as you can see, slightly slower than Jamie in the first run, but quicker than Lovett, so if form is to go by, we expect Guy to jump into 2nd again here, trying to beat a 57.76, and has done it comfortably, 56.69. Still 6 or 7 tenths off the back of Jamie, so the gap slightly coming down between the two of them. But Jamie's definitely got the edge at the moment. Meanwhile, Jim King's got the wipers on as well, so that rain is certainly falling again. Maybe further up the hill, I'm not seeing much of it here. Is it rain? Just a sprinkle of rain down here. I've got a roof over my head, so I'm okay. But Jim definitely has the wipers on there. Let's see if he can do anything about Mike King's 56.19. He's not going to. 59.32, not quite trusting the damp conditions there maybe for Jim. But Mike has been driving so well this year, as we said earlier, so I think he'll be really happy with that. And that's going to be the end of that batch. So we've got a number of cars returning to the paddock. Then we should be seeing a few more of our racing cars competing in the Scottish Hillclimb Championship, final round of the season. Tomorrow, of course. Yeah. Today it's 2. So just to explain this for anyone who's unsure, the British Championship are here this weekend, but it's just basically 2 rounds tomorrow. So Sunday we'll have the penultimate 2 rounds of the British Hillclimb Championship. Today is basically a practice day for those competing in the British. Meanwhile, the Scottish event that we're talking you through just now, they actually have 2 events. They have one on Saturday and one on Sunday. And in each of those, they'll get 2 or 3 timed runs. So this is absolutely what counts, and it's the end of the season for these guys as well, so they'll be looking to try and get those final points on the board for the championship. I'll run you through then how the results shape up after the 2 first timed runs. So for the junior class, Ewan Bruce in on his own, but still leading, of course, then on a 62.36, so that was the first timed run for Ewan. We'll be seeing if he can break a record later on today if he gets out for another run and the conditions allow it. A1, Jodie Gordon leads comfortably, in fact, 55.87, excellent stuff, with Graham Shee 2nd and Campbell Gordon rounding out the top 3. Then you've got Ian Wright, Pete Lowton, John Hamilton and Anthony Reid in the top 7, and then Sam Shaw, Jenny Howells just ahead of Alex in the Battle of the Hillman Imp, rounding out the top 10. Just a quick thing to say, if you're watching on YouTube as well, big thank you to all of the members who have tuned in and supported the channel. You can see there you've got the top tier, likes of Adam Greenan, Rob Clark, Andy Greenan, supporting the YouTube channel. So big thanks to everyone there. We'll continue to run through the classes. Derek Rothney leading the way in A2 on a 53.12, ahead of Andy Smith in 2nd in the other Clio. Then A3 you've got Thomas Rapson, David Reed and Tommy Rapson, your top 3. different order from earlier. Thomas Rapson's jumped from 3rd to 1st, and then David and Tommy have each dropped back a position. Then it's Brian Wilson leading the mini challenge battle, 56.60, 4th in class, with Simon Rothney in the Astra making a bit of a mistake there at the top of East Bray. Brian Hunter, Henry Simmons and Jim Howarth rounding out class A3. At A5 it's Jamie McKenzie ahead of Guy McKenzie, the gap coming down between those two, and then Lovett Fraser not far away either in the striker. John Welsh, lone competitor in A6, 64.71, and then in A8 Neil Ross leads the way in his Porsche Boxster ahead of Jim Sugden. 58.84 for Neil, 65.37 for Jim, quicker on his first run. Mike King ahead of Jim King in Class A9 for the MX-5s, just the one MX-5 here in the Scottish this weekend. Stuart Dow, lone competitor in B5, 51.93, leading the way there. And then of course in B6 we have Kenneth Sutherland ahead of Ross Sutherland. Yet to see if Ross Sutherland's going to be competing this afternoon. Ross was ahead in practice, but we haven't seen Ross take a timed run yet, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. And then of course we're going to get into the sports cars and the racing cars very, very soon. Not to forget as well the classics coming up after. You've got D1, D2 and D3 coming up just after the racing cars, and some fantastic battles going on through there as well. A big entry of classic and thoroughbred road cars, especially D1. I think we've got nearly 10 people competing in that, and a nice range of cars, always good to watch. So I've just got a message coming up on the stream then from Jersey Motorsports. Hello from Jersey Channel Islands. Watching the live stream's got to be interested in taking part at the local hill climbs. Well, that is brilliant to hear. Obviously, the more streams we can get of the British events and the regional events as well, the better, because it brings the sport to more eyes, it gets more people invested, and it's such an exciting sport to take part in, an exciting sport to watch as well. So the more we can share this about, the better. A massive thank you to you for tuning in and watching, and really glad that it got you into hill climbing in the first place. Got another message here from Tom Riedinger. Hi dearest friends, from Bea and me in Munster in France. Hello Tom, hope you're enjoying. As you can see, we've got viewers from all over the world. Coming to terms, messaging us from London, Ontario, Canada. Not the London I was expecting. Very much global appeal. It is damp and soggy here at Doune, I'll be honest. So if you're watching it from a sunny, warm location somewhere, it's probably not a bad seat to have. I mean, it's very, very exciting, I have to say. If you've not been to Doune Hill Climb, even if you're nowhere near Scotland, I thoroughly recommend trying to find a reason to come in and make it over here and watch, because it must be one of the most thrilling places to watch motorsport up close, anywhere in the world. You get so close to the action, you can actually see the paths running along the hill on the stream as well, so you can see just where you're able to stand. So the next batch underway. Colin Robertson out in the MG. You can see the wipers are on and the rain has picked up a little bit. It's damp down here, I'm seeing. Yeah, it's definitely getting a little bit worse, so this could obviously have a major effect on the results. If the track's worse than it was earlier, we're not going to see these times improve. So it's going to be very telling to see what time Colin Robertson does here in the MG. The wipers have seized, they've stopped working, or he's turned them off by accident. That happens at Doune, by the way. You don't have much time to breathe or think or anything, you just go. So Colin Robertson then heading around the final corner. 57.7 from earlier is not going to be beaten this time from Colin. It's going to be a 58.62. So stays second in class, of course, with that. Mark Rennie in his Fiesta Mark 1, immaculate looking car. I'm led to believe that Mark actually won this car in a car raffle. And what a car to win. Mark 1 Fiesta, beautiful, and it goes well as well. Lots of power, stunning machine. We'd love to catch up with Mark at some point about this car, but he's not hanging about in it, that's for sure. Currently third in class though, 60.28, and it looks a bit damp. I'm not sure if he's going to improve through the last corner. Actually, it's going to be close. His split from earlier through the S's was a 50.19, and it is an improvement, 59.89 for Mark Rennie. Not enough to jump him ahead of Colin, who we just saw. Remaining third in class, but that rain is teeming down now. You guys in the stream will be able to see this. It's actually raining. The track's getting worse again, so let's hope this stops pretty soon. Some bits are worse than others. I think Meadow's probably the worst looking. Junction is pretty bad. It seems fairly dry still at the top of the hill through the S's that we're seeing John Ramsey go through now. As he then heads towards the line, it's looking purple sectors for John Ramsey as well, so he's looking to improve his class lead, and he does slightly, 55.60, so stretches it. It's just over 2 seconds between John Ramsey and Colin Robertson, with Mark Rennie rounding out the field. That's Class C0. There's the rain. You can see they're teaming down, heading onto the meadow, and that's not a place as a driver where you want that psychological rain to be playing. But that's not psychological anymore. That's going to be making a big difference. So tyre choice is going to be interesting for a lot of these competitors, and obviously we've got the British coming up later on, so it's going to be tricky. Those of you down in the paddock thinking about tyre choice, I can't be much help to you right now because I don't have a clue what way I'd be going. 59.89 for David Littlejohn in his Radical. David was competing in the car we will see Gary Warren in later for quite a number of years, but he's gone back to the Radical, which is the car he was driving before he jumped in the single-seater, and he's definitely enjoying it. 59.89 there, not quite enough. He was 0.02 of a second behind the man you're seeing right now, Martin Chittenden, in the Pulsar, who is purple at the moment, so Martin's got the confidence in these damp conditions. The rain may be coming down, but it's looking like a good sector time. Let's see what happens then when he crosses the line. 59.87 to beat, 57.99, superb run from Martin Chittenden. That's a sizable improvement, and really does stretch the lead of that class ahead of David Littlejohn, who himself made a big improvement. I think it's just one section of the track, you know, that's worse than the rest in terms of the weather. That just makes it so tricky as a driver to just know how to push, because you've not exactly got the margin to find out. You've got to just decide what pace you're going, and it's either enough grip or it's not enough grip, and you don't want it to be not enough. So it's a really difficult thing judging the track as you're going here, especially with the trees that we see at Doune and different conditions up the hill. Les Johnson's going to cross the line on a 66.17, so improves by a second, but not enough to worry the two cars ahead, the Radical and the Pulsar, which are obviously have more aerodynamic ability. So Les in the Davrian Imp not expected to challenge for the win of that class this weekend. Charlie Fraser, meanwhile, purple in all sectors so far, looking to beat a 56.44 from earlier. I think he's going to do it, 53.63, so big improvement for Charlie Fraser. That Spire GT3 delivers the power beautifully. It's a turbocharged car, but he's got it set up very smoothly indeed. I say turbocharged, I think it's actually supercharged is the Spire. Archie Kerr's gone off in the single-seater at Eastbury, but he's back on. No damage or anything, but he's going to lose a second or two there, just running in deep. The one place in the track where you can afford to find the limits. I think he may have actually tapped the barrier there with the tyre very lightly, so it's a bit of a scrappy run for Archie. Everything looks okay, though, in the car. Going to come across the line, 59.88. So it's actually slower by a couple of tenths as well. Not surprising given the mistakes there for Archie. Just a scrappy run, but nothing to worry about in terms of the car by the looks of it. Thomas Graham next out in the bright, luminous Megapin. This car now more than 20 years old. The Megapin's been around for a long time. It's still competitive, still going well, though technology has moved on a lot in terms of the materials you're seeing in these single-seaters nowadays with the carbon fibre tubs and the lightweight nature. But the Megapin's still a fantastic design, and a couple of them out this weekend as well, with Rory Seaton coming up soon. Tom Graham, 64.38. Meanwhile, we've had a car stopped just at junction, so that looks like it could be Andrew McCaskill, who's come to arrest. Now, we didn't see what led to that, whether he's just pulled off with a mechanical. He's sitting on the road just at one side, appearing to be stopped, so that'll be a temporary red flag. So there you can see on the stream the car sitting there. Not sure if what's caused that, whether that's a mechanical issue, whether he's maybe made a mistake and touched something, but he's driving again now, so that's a good sign. So Andrew McCaskill will take the car to the top of the hill. We'll let you know if we hear what happened there to Andrew. big jump for Andrew, actually. He's gone, I believe he was in a Volkswagen Polo, or was it a Lupo? I can't remember. But he was in a small road car for a couple of years, getting a taste for the hill climbs and sprints, and then he's jumped into this Force, a beautifully prepared car, former Cotterell car, I believe. And he's getting the hang of it. He's been doing really well in the Scottish events this year. He's got a lot of strong competition in these Scottish sprints and hill climb events. In Class C4, it's always been a strong class, but you've got the likes of Gary Dixon and Charlie Forsyth, very experienced, very quick. You've also got George Coggle Jr., not competing this weekend, but a stellar competitor as well. It's a great class to learn your trade. Gary Warren, of course, in C4 as well. So if you go in there, it's incredibly difficult to be mega competitive, and Andrew's proving his capabilities very early on in that Force, so it's great to see. Unfortunately, though, that run not ending up well for him. But the car looks okay. He's made it to the top of the hill. And we now move into our classic and thoroughbred cars. So we'll wait until a bit later to see Gary Dixon, Charlie, Leslie Sheridan. But in the meantime, here's the first of our D1 competitors. And as you can see, if you're watching the stream, top left of the screen, a very competitive class indeed. Plenty of cars here. Alex in the MG Midget, beautifully prepared as always. 24.29 to Garden Gate. So how does that compare to the run earlier? It was 25.87, so he's up by a second and a half as it stands on his previous run. 36.55 to Junction, so a couple of seconds up now. So Alex really making headway here. 70.49 was the time earlier, but I reckon he's going to be looking around about Tom Marr's 67.14 here, as long as Alex can keep up this rate of improvement. The track sun seems to have come out again a little bit, so maybe it's not quite getting too wet. Maybe the times are still there. 55.69 is the split time to the S's. So I think we're looking here, if he can beat a 67.14, he'll jump ahead of Tom Marr into third in class, and he's not quite done it. 67.18, 4 hundredths of a second between the two of them. So an improvement in position anyway, jumps ahead of Jim Brown, but Jim Brown, of course, will be up again soon. Meanwhile, Alexander Snedden in the Triumph TR4, heading through the meadow. Snedden nice and tidy up the top of the hill, but it's not looking super quick at the moment. He's not on the edge of grip in that Triumph, so he's taking it nice and easy. It's a beautiful car, absolutely stunning. But can he improve on his 78.96 from earlier? He does, 78.82, so finding just over a tenth of a second. If he can find another couple of seconds, he can challenge this man, Richard Morris, in the Triumph. You may have seen Richard out in the past in his TVR, but he's moved to the Triumph, which is a GT6, despite being a soft top, looking a bit like a Spitfire. It is a GT6, and he's thinking about putting a roof on it soon, I'm led to believe. But Richard Morris is going to cross the line. He's going to improve slightly, I think. No, he's not. 76.18, so just a tenth slower than earlier. I think the track's pretty much there. It's very, very similar in terms of grip now to what we saw earlier, based on the times that we're seeing. But I mean, it does switch, honestly. You know, we've seen Alex Hazelwood prove that you can go a lot quicker, but maybe Alex's previous run wasn't as quick. It depends on the driver confidence. It depends on the mental game, how much the rain's putting you off. But here's Tom Marr then in the midget, coming through the last corner. Can he improve? He's obviously he's maintained, that third place in class, and he's now jumped up to a 66.54, so finding another half second to increase that gap back to Alex Hazelwood and cement his position in the top three. This is a stunning car. Graham McCabe's Chevette reminds me a lot of many of the Alec Graham cars we've seen over the years. Just a stunning piece of design. The more we see out on the hills, the better, I think, with these Chevettes. I'm biased, for sure. But Graham McCabe now heading towards the finish line. Not going to beat the 64.06 that put him second in class. It's a 65.69, which means that Stephen Muir is well clear out in front in the Austin Healey Sprite, which is just leaving the line as I speak. Meanwhile, Jim Brown in his Riley 1. Looking nice and committed through meadow. A lot of these classic cars immaculately prepared, as you would expect. And he gets the tail out a little bit over Eastbury. Nice and early power delivery from Jim Brown. 57.15 through the S's, so he's about a second up on his previous timed run, so this should be an improvement for the 1500cc Riley. 69.36, so it is an improvement by just over a second for Jim, although he stays 5th in class. And it's just Stephen Muir then. We haven't seen times yet from Cliff McKinnon or John Henry, so not sure if they're out there today. Stephen Muir throwing the tail out on the Austin Healey Sprite, not using quite all of the road, but definitely using all of the throttle, which is great to see. And he's purple in all the sectors, so I think we're going to see maybe a 58, something like that here from Stephen, if he can get the power down. 59.17, not quite a 58, but it is a solid improvement on his first timed run. And looks like we are now moving on to D2, I believe. We are indeed. Another tail out over East Bray then from John Cow in the Ford Anglia. Any young Harry Potter fans will love this car. Gets the power on. All purple so far, looking to beat a 63.99, and it's a 63.96, so image of consistency for John Cow. Unfortunately for him though, he's not got a massive gap to John Pace behind him in the MG BGT. And John Pace, 35.85 to junction, is actually a couple of tenths slower than he was earlier. So I don't think John Pace is going to improve here, unless he finds a bit in the last section of the track, heading up towards the S's. So 53.64 was his split earlier. Let's see what he can do here. It's going to be a 53 something. 53.85, a couple of tenths off, so I don't think John's going to make an impact on the class lead, but could still find a little bit to improve on his 64.8 from earlier. John, a regular competitor around the Scottish Sprints and Hills, 65.44, so it is not an improvement for Pace. So in the battle of the Johns, it's Cow in first and Pace second. Speaking of Johns, John Albiston next up the road in his Brabham BT38. And it won't be too long before this John hands over to the other John in the commentary box as well. 48.37 through the S's. This car sounds absolutely incredible out there on the hill. And John Albiston crosses the line, 57.99. It's not an improvement on the first run. Meanwhile, George Coggle is pushing on in the Chevron, as you come to expect with George. Using all of the road. As always, purple sectors, gets very close to the cone through the S's, the tail wiggling. That's a big, wide, heavy car, big, powerful car to be hauling up this hill. Ex-Keke Rosberg machine, of course. 50.73 is the time over the line, though, and that's fantastic. He's about 5 seconds off of his class record, set in the dry, of course. But in these damp conditions, to be hauling a classic car like that quickly up a hill like Doune, very, very impressive from George, as we've come to expect. We've now got Alan Reid sharing the car with Son Stewart. Car number 773. This is for the modified cars over 1400 up to 2 litre. And Alan's going to do a 56.76. So not quite as quick as the previous run. A bit wide through East Bray for Damien in the Subaru. Just for some context, by the way, guys, this is the first of our double-driven British Championship entries now, so we've had our Scottish competitors, or the majority of them at least, still a few I think to go. Might just be caught up somewhere in the paddock in terms of a queuing, but we've still to see the likes of Gary Dixon, Charlie Forsyth, so we might see them a bit later on. But this is some of the double-driven cars that are competing in the British element of this championship round. So this is now a third run of the day. Just a reminder on the format, it's all practice today for the British Hillclimb competitors, so all of these times, although they are of course relevant and they help you get up to speed, they're not actually counting towards anything. It is just for the drivers to get familiar. Sunday is the day with the time count for the British competitors. 59.79 for Stephen Mallet in the Radical. We do have a few Scottish guys still to come though in terms of the Scottish Championship. Charlie Forsyth lining up on the line soon. And unfortunately there, as you can see, we've had a car in the wall, and that's going to be a red flag and a delay. So I believe that's Anthony Wood in his Force PT that you're seeing there on screen. And as you can see, he looks okay, but it's not a place where you want to go off exit of Oak Tree towards Tunnel. It's a fast part of track, and in these slippy conditions, very easy to get caught out. Yeah, just the exit of Garden Gate by the looks of it. So I'm not going to speculate on what happened because I didn't see the incident, but the main thing is, looks like Anthony is signalling that he's okay. And the marshals are just picking up some bits there. A bit of damage on the front of the car. He's missing the front wing, so he's hit the front off something. But the wheels do seem to be pointing fairly the right direction. I mean, it's just trying to look at the front left versus the front right. There might be a bit of difference in angle there, so maybe an impact on the front left. But yeah. The major suspension parts do, on site on the stream at least, look straight. So there's going to be a bit of a delay here, guys, while we sort this one out. And unfortunately, not the first person to come a cropper today. If you've just joined us on the stream, we did have a few single-seaters going off this morning. Thankfully, everyone okay, but a few damaged cars. I think Dave Tatum was one. I've just kicked my mic box. That doesn't help. But yes, Dave unfortunately came to blows with the wall at turn 1 this morning. Just tapping that he was talking to us earlier. Just slightly tapped the wall with the rear, set the car into a tank slapper, and he tried to save it, went both ways, and ended up unfortunately collecting the barrier. So not the first damaged single-seater today, but that is the nature of Doune, unfortunately. If you're pushing the limits, which these guys are, and you make mistakes, it's going to cost you, and sadly it can end up with some damaged cars. It's one of the key elements of Doune really is how far do you push it, how close to the limit can you get with absolutely no margin for error, arguably other than the top of East Bray. Getting an apology there from Rich behind the scenes. Sorry about the glitchy camera. That's okay, Rich. I know Rich was up the hill trying to actually fix this camera at lunchtime, so he's been doing his best to get this running as smoothly as possible. And while I've got the chance, a massive thank you to Rich Danby behind the scenes for bringing us these images. It's been bringing, I'd say, people around the world the images of the British Hillclimb Championship for years now. Does an incredible job. So massive thanks to you, Rich, for everything that you do for the sport. And we'll forgive you the glitchy camera. So there will be a short delay here while we get things sorted. But obviously, if you have any questions or any comments, do let us know on the YouTube feed. We'll try and bring it up. I'm not sure if my reception's great down here, but I'll give it a go, see if we can bring up some comments. There will be John Brown back on the mic at some point soon as well to bring you through the British coverage, or the British section of the event. It's a special place though, Doune. An incredible challenge for the drivers, especially in these slippy, greasy conditions. You know, you've got no way really of knowing how much grip there's going to be out there until you get, not even to the start line, but to the corners that you're thinking about. It's incredibly difficult, and you've just got to know beforehand how hard you're going to push. And we have some of the best drivers in the country here and some of the fastest cars pushing very, very close and sometimes beyond the limit. So it's a spectacle. Got 463 live viewers on the YouTube feed, so a big thank you to all of you for tuning in. Hopefully you're enjoying this. It's going to be a very exciting weekend, of course, coming up to the climax of the British Championship. I might bring John Brown in here for a quick chat, if that's all right. If you feel, you know, well enough rested, if your voice is back, just to talk about the British Hillclimb Championship, because we've got a lot of viewers here tuning in for the end of the season. Just a couple of events to go. We've got double header here at Doune tomorrow, with the practice obviously taking place right now. There's the championship standings on the screen, and that's what I was going to talk to you about. Matt Ryder, an amazing season so far, and he can clinch the championship this weekend with 2 run-off victories.
Yeah, that's right, John. Matt, the mixed season, really. First half of the season was definitely Ali Summers, who won 8 of the first 12, I think, runoffs. But then Matt had an accident of shells in the middle of that, and his last win here at Doune in June was not so good. But since then, he's had 8 successive top 10 runoff wins. And yes, if he wins both runoffs this weekend, having missed a few rounds, he's got very low scores to drop. One of the best 21 scores count. So Alex is already dropping, but Matt has only got a 1 to drop this weekend. So if he has 2 wins, then he will win the championship.
Yeah, so very exciting stuff. You're definitely going to want to tune in for that tomorrow in the runoffs. Meanwhile, we've got some very exciting stuff happening on the hill because we're back underway. Charlie Forsyth in the 130R home-built car, been absolutely pushing the limits of this thing, as you'll see on the stream. And he's already heading out towards junction. He was quicker than the cameras could keep up with him. 26.81 there through the first split. He's currently second in class though behind Gary Dixon, who's next off the line. 51.54 was his time from earlier through junction. So through the S's, sorry, it was 42.2. So let's see what Charlie does this time. He's going to be quicker, I'm sure. 40.76. So he's a good second and a half quicker than he was earlier as we head towards the final corner. So Charlie Forsyth looking to take the class lead from Gary Dixon. 49.15. He's not done it. 49.67. So he does retain second in class, stretches the advantage ahead of Leslie Sheridan, who's still to go. But Gary Dixon maintains the lead of the class, and this is Gary in the force. The Blue Star off the line. Gary back out in this car for the first time in a number of years at Gosby last weekend, and you can see him there kicking the tail out through the first corner. Always fully committed is Gary. Fantastic to watch, just like Charlie Forsyth before him, and a true character in the Scottish paddock. And this will be a committed run, I can guarantee you of that. 49.15 was his run from earlier. So let's see how the splits are looking. Conditions, I think, okay right now, to be honest, as we head through Garden Gate. Junction 25.90, and he's actually down on his split from earlier at Junction, so it's not a faster run at the moment from Gary. Obviously a very well committed first timed run for him. So it's going to be close, I think, to Charlie Forsyth's 49.67. He'll be grateful. Purple sector through the S's though, or towards the S's I should say. The S's split at least. Bit of understeer through the last corner, but keeps it on the black stuff, and it's an improvement, 48.68. So I tell you what, he found something there, did Gary, in the last few corners. That's a great run. He's stretched the lead then to just under a second from Charlie Forsyth. I say stretched the lead, it was more than that before, so it's come down, but he's at least increased it for now. And I do believe if things run smoothly, the Scottish runners will get one more timed run at the end of the day, so they should get a third timed run. So if you want to see how these battles conclude, make sure you're keeping an eye on the stream later on today. But before that, of course, we should have the rest of our British runners doing their third practice runs. And for that, I will hand you back over shortly to John Brown, who's been taking you through the coverage here at Doune. And he's just joined the chat. He's right next to me, but he's joined the chat. We've got some comments coming in, which I'd quite like to look at. I had a question there asking if Jim King and Steve Muir, I presume, from Aberdeenshire still race. Now, Jim King does, and Jim King is racing today in the Mazda MX-5 with son Mike. So car number 39. Jim currently on a 59.32, second in class, with Mike on a 56.19, leading the way. So Mike's been having an amazing season this year. Jim, obviously, we know how quick he is. He's been right up there in the Mazdas before, but Mike's been the one doing the business this year. But yes, very much still competing, and still competing very well and heavily involved. So with the batch coming down the hill, that is going to conclude the second timed runs for the Scottish Championship competitors. Don't go anywhere, we've got all the British runners coming up very soon. Currently leading the way then in the Scottish with a 48.68 is Gary Dixon, the car you've just seen go through the screen there in the Force, the 1 litre Force. And these guys will have one more chance later on, hopefully, to improve those times and see who can ultimately take away the points in the Scottish Hillclimb Championship. But for now, I'm going to hand you back over to John Brown for our British contenders.
Thank you very much, John Munro, for giving me a bit of a break there. John being well into the Scottish hill climb scene, there's a lot more than I do. I may sound Scottish, but I've been living down south in England for the last 40 years. So I keep an eye on the hill climb scene here in Scotland, but obviously John is well in with the crowd and knows all about past history of drivers and cars. So thanks, John, and we'll speak to you again, if not later, certainly tomorrow. So as John said, that's the end of the second batch of the Scottish Championship runners, and we're ready to start off with the final practice run, the third of the day for the British runners. This is rounds 27 and 28 of the British Hillclimb Championship, and also the penultimate rounds of the British Hillclimb Cup, which is based on times set during the class runs. So all the competitive action is tomorrow for the British runners. Starting, they will have 2 class runs, 2 top 10 run-offs, and 2 fastest time of day for the top 12 cars for Championship, British Hillclimb Championship points at the end of each set of runs. So we've had 4 cars already up for the national runners, just the 4 double driven cars, and that's them obviously finished for today. Alan Reid was the first one, followed by Stephen Bradley in this lovely maroon, shall we call it maroon Impreza. If you've been following the Hillclimb Championship and the Tin Top Challenge this year, you'll have seen Damien Bradley and Stephen Darley sharing a Subaru Legacy with an amazing amount of 700 plus brake horsepower. Unfortunately, at Shelsley a few rounds ago, an issue on the last run of the day for one of them, and the engine is basically no longer fit for purpose. So this car they're driving this weekend, the maroon Impreza, is a car that Stephen Darley's been working on, he tells us, the last 14 years, not months, 14 years. He's been working on developing this current Impreza, which you see today, and they are sharing it this weekend, and will obviously be hot favourites to get into and probably to win the top 10 Tin Top Challenge. More of that later about the positions, etc. So you've seen David Bradley do a 52.93, which is 1 second plus ahead of Stephen Darley in that class. You also have Stephen Mallet in his Radical. Stephen and his father Richard generally run in sprint championships. They ran in the British Sprint Championship last weekend at Knockhill and scored points in that championship. So they're sharing the car. One of the many radicals we have here this weekend. So they are sharing that car, and we'll see Richard shortly. And the other car we saw, who unfortunately failed to finish, having had a bit of a problem in the tunnel, was Anthony Wood in the single seaters up to 1100cc class, sharing with Robin Wood. The car looked fairly undamaged and came back okay, so hopefully it will be back out again, if not this afternoon with Robin, tomorrow with both drivers on board. As John said, David Tatham had what looked like a minor off down in the hill early on, but he's damaged certainly the right rear suspension, and the top is also damaged where the front suspension has moved when he hit the barrier on that side. So the car will require a major investment in time to get that car fixed. He has got 3 more weekends this year when he should be out in the car, but he's hoping his brother Pete may be able to help him with a shared run. And actually going back now to the Scottish class, we've got Leslie Sheridan coming up. She was missing from the last set of runs. So Leslie in the up to 1100cc racing car class. She was 3rd overall after the first round, still 3rd overall, behind Gary Dixon and Charlie Forsyth. She was at 52.78 on her first run. Leslie Reynard 903. This is the next Formula 3 car designed and built by Adrian Reynard in 1990. But at that time, they've run a 2-litre, probably Toyota or possibly Volkswagen engine. Has now been converted to run a Suzuki for hill climbing. So she's now up at the top of the hill, finishing off that run. A bit slower than previous run, 56.02, but still remains in third place in the class. Jock Ramsey on the hill now in his Opel Manta, the famous orange Opel Manta of Jock, who does a lot of maintenance here at Doune. The grass cutting, etc. is Jock's domain up here at Doune. So he tries to keep off the verges if he can. But he now actually races, driving his car in the Tin Top Challenge. He'll be able to qualify for the top 10 in that tomorrow. And his time there is Jock Ramsey's time is a 55.2, his quickest of the weekend practice so far. Next, Stuart Reid, local driver at 205, doing well in the Tin Top Challenge. I think he surprised a lot of people down south with the speed of this car when he's appeared at the English rounds. And it's a 52.11 for Stuart, slightly slower than the earlier one, but still quickest in the class, and I'm sure he'll qualify in the top half or near the top in the Tin Top Challenge. Jeff Tremlow on the hill. Jeff, all the way up from Cornwall in his Subaru Impreza. Jeff discovered Doune over 20 years ago when he was working up in the area and rarely misses a meeting up here. Drives all the way up from his home in Cornwall, running number 80 this year to celebrate his 80th year, and his time there is a 60.6, and that is his best time of the day by quite a margin. Another Southerner now, Jonathan Williamson in his Porsche Carrera. Jonathan also from down south. He normally shares his car with Laura Wardle, but Laura had an unfortunate accident earlier on in the year in the paddock, believe it or not, so he's been unable to drive since then. So Jonathan's driving this car for over 30, probably near to 40 years, and it's a 58.4, so not quite as quick. The final runner, next Porsche runner, Andrew Norris in his Porsche. Now Andrew's very fortunate. He lives about 5 minutes drive from Shelsley Walsh in Worcestershire, so he must be able to get there for a bit of practice. No, seriously, he's very fortunate living near the centre of hill climbing in England. He goes across the line there, and it's a 56 for Andrew, which leaves him in third position. And Stephen Darley now in the Impreza. Obviously the two driving the Impreza, pretty untouchable in this class. Stephen at 53.99 and David Bradley at 52.93. This looks like it might be somewhere in between the two, maybe. It's a 54.54. So a bit slower than Stephen that one. So David Bradley leads the class now after this competition, after his practice runs. We have another of the radicals we have here. This is Matthew Price and his radical. This one runs a 1600cc engine. He's followed up by Brian Beverley, class record holder for the last 26 years in this particular class. That was when he was driving a Vision. Now he's driving this Westfield. His class record is 41.08. It's obviously nowhere attainable today. And it's a 52.34 for Brian. Final run in this class is Al McDonald in the Porsche SR4. Alan from Dalbeattie in the south of Scotland. Been driving in the past a Mitsubishi engine Mini, which you may have seen. But now this year, the second year in this force. Originally done by Rob Stevens and holds of many class records down south. But watch out for the next car. Next car, Simon Bainbridge in the SB Racing Tono. 4.2 litre turbocharged. Loosely based on an Audi. Very loosely based on an Audi. One of the top runners in the Tin Top Challenge. The top runner generally in sprint championship runs. The British Sprint Championship is his 40. On the wide open fields, airfields and circuits. But finding his way around the narrow confines of Doune quite well. 53.06. And that takes him into the lead of the class in practice runs, followed by Duncan Barnes in the French Norma 2.1 litre turbocharged Honda engine. 2.1 litre turbocharged Honda engine, a common sight on hill climbs in the continent. Duncan used to drive this partners with Tom New, originally with a normally aspirated engine, now turbocharged. 54.04, so about a second slower than Simon Bainbridge on that run. So Simon now is the top in that class. Now into Class H, which is racing cars up to 600 cc's. And Will Kerr in the OMS Hornet. We saw this car in the hands of Archie Kerr's son in the Interclub Championship runners. This is Will, normally shares 750 turbocharged Kawasaki engine OMS with his brother Ben Hamer, but for this weekend sharing with Will. Now Andrew McCaskill with the force. Who I think, Andrew McCaskill is Scottish runner, but he was red flagged on his previous run. Remember John Monroe talking about him. He was stopped just beyond Junction. In that case he was red flagged because of the previous car having put some debris on the track. So time there for Andrew McCaskill, 52.62, takes him into third in class above Leslie Sheridan. Back now to the Sports Libre's British class, and this is Richard Mallet, father of Stephen, in the shared radical. The radical running a 1340cc Suzuki engine, gingerly through the S's and down the top corner, and it's towards the finish. And the last runner in this batch is Paul Harris in the family Van Diemen, which son Jimmy Harris had put into barrier earlier, slightly dinged the suspension, but in the friendship of hill climbing, Stuart Robb, who had a garage quite nearby, was able to take the car back to that garage over the lunch period and use his on-site welder to repair the suspension, and the car has now been cleared by the scrutineer to continue, and that's a 62.25 for Paul Harris. So there we go, that's the end of that batch. Again, just practice for the British runners. But if we look at the classes, we've seen the class leaders after practice, who we look out for tomorrow, are Stuart Reid in Class C2, Damien Bradley in the larger over 2 litre modified cars, Brian Beverley in the up to 2 litre Sports Libres, and Simon Bainbridge in the over 2 litre Sports Libres. And we wait to see the rest of the cars and the mainly single-seater racing cars for the British runners coming up shortly. So it's good to be able to bring you some Saturday action here from Doune, as well as our live stream tomorrow. Gives not only the cars some practice, it also gives the rich time to get the cameras correctly positioned and make sure they're all working. As he says, there's a few issues with the internet connection here at Doune. First car to leave it like this batch is the leader of the current leader of the Scottish Championship, Gary Warren, in his Empire Evo. A number of these Empire Evos on the hills these days. He is running currently second in class behind Stuart Bickley in practice times. He was ahead of him at Garden Gate, but he's lost a bit of time now up to Junction. Oh, and he's gone straight off the top of East Bray and back on again. And you can see in front of the camera. Wow, that was exciting. If you just as the Gary went off at East Bray, get back on the track, he's now finished. Finished his climb in 52.79, but he put a lot of dirt on the track at the top of East Bray, and we're going to have some sweeping going on there. He was so far off the track, he was doing a camera shot. And then he came back on again and was so close to the camera, he almost swiped it as it sat on the end of the barrier. But a lot of sweeping up here now at the top of East Bray. The second car we've had do that today. So bit of mud being swept away. A replay coming up on screen of Gary as he goes up the hill. You might see him, and he goes right off the edge of the track. And he goes back on again. And he... As I pointed out, he's on slick tyres. So Gary obviously having a bit of an agricultural moment there. In the old days here at Doune, the trees and the bushes used to come up almost to the edge of the track before they was all cut back and the big grass burrs put in to catch cars that went off, just like Gary did there. And obviously, looking in the background, the trees you see in the background, if you're watching on screen, were never there in the past. You've got a view across the open countryside and the hills beyond. Another replay coming up of Gary Warren. And here he goes off the track. Yes, he doesn't. He's wearing slick tyres. Obviously kept going, hoping to get a good time. But that would be a 52.79, but his previous time was 45.48, so that'll be his best practice time today. But it doesn't count. He now knows the limits of adhesion for tomorrow. No, in fact, the earlier Archie Kerr in the OMS Hornet, the 600 Hornet, was the previous person to go off a similarly, not quite such a long way, but in a similar manner, and kicking up the mud just in front of the camera at the top of East Bray. And as somebody says here on the comments, yes, East Bray is still blind at the top as you come up East Bray. There's still a blind brow as you come up, and you have to know where you're going. If you've been here regularly, you soon find out. And all of these single-seaters actually have bike engines in them these days, mainly Suzuki's. I'm not sure, I think everyone in the class today, apart from Richard Matossian in the ex-record holder car from here. Just can't remember the chap's name at the moment, but I'll come to it shortly. Richard Matossian in the ex-Robert Kenrick Raptor has a BMW engine in it. Robert Kenrick, who demolished a lot of the records here back in 2019 across the country in the Raptor, many of which, if not all, still stand for the 1100cc class. The only person at the time to have driven a BMW engine in the class, and Richard Matossian then bought the car from Robert Kenrick and has retained the BMW engine, although I believe it may be a different actual physical engine. It's still a BMW, and apart from him, everybody else in the class is running a Suzuki. And we get Suzuki's not only in the 1100cc class, but also in the 1600cc class, and in the turbocharged 1300 2-litre class as well. So on the line comes the line Rory Seaton in his Megapin, Father David, driver of many cars in the past, most recently a Pilbeam, a BMW Pilbeam sports car, which he then sold and bought a Ligier sports car, Honda engine Ligier, similar specification to Duncan Barnes' Norma as it was originally, with the Norma actually the engine. But gave him a lot of trouble with the engine, and he's still having it fixed at the moment, but hopefully back out in it again next year. But Rory started off in a Suzuki saloon car, and now transferred it to Megapin, which is for sale, I believe, still. Sorry, the stream has just gone down. It possibly means my computer's gone down, and in fact Rory's had a flag. So on to the timing screen, Rory's Seaton, as we've got a red flag here. Oh, that was his previous run, sorry. And obviously he was red flag when Gary Ward went off, so now he's on the hill, and it's 56.11 for Rory. Sorry about that, for a bit of confusion there. 56.11, just a bit slower than his second run earlier today. Jonathan Fletcher now in the OMS 28. Jonathan really beginning to go well in this car. Last year he shared it with his son Dylan, and normally shares it with clerk of the course here, Tim Thompson. But Jonathan out in the championship points, British Hillclimb Championship points this year already, 48.59. So he started off today with a 47.1 run and a 45. That's the slowest run of the day so far. Tom Weaver, another hot shoes from this 1100cc class. Tom Weaver also scored championship points this year, as has the next runner, Stuart Bickley. The conditions are right, and the smaller engine cars can get good conditions. They can certainly qualify for the top 10, top 12 tomorrow. Stuart Bickley, very popular and very effective force TAs. Which are many more around the hills. And force TA in the hands of Olivia Cooper. 1600 engine version holds a ladies' hill record here at Doune. Stuart getting ever better with his car all year. That's a 46.66. Which again is slightly slower, so maybe the conditions for this particular batch of cars is worse than it was when they ran before lunchtime. All coming a bit slower. No sign of Richard Matossian in the Raptor, and Robin Wood, maybe there's more problems with the car after Anti's off than we know about. So down to Sarah Bosworth in the Formula 4 class. Sarah was leading after taking a couple of runs, quickly in practice, and that looks like a quicker run again. 59.29. Jimmy Harris had a fail in his first run, and this is his first clean run since then. He's safely through Junction where he went off in the last time we saw him. Jimmy won the pre-1994 Formula 4 Challenge last year, which has run 4 events down in England. And he is now heading across the line. It looks like he'll take the class best. 56.88 for Jimmy. Put him up straight to the top of the class after practice. Alan Warburton sharing the car with his son David. David finished 10th in the HillClimb Championship last year and doing well again this year. Looks like the stream has gone down a little bit again, but Alan Warburton's time of 51.22. We're back live again into the up to 2 litre class. Again, double driven cars here. Nicola Dearden driving with Andrew Henson. It's followed by Andrew Colburn, who's driving with his son Aaron Colburn, who you'll see shortly. Nicola across the finish line now in a 70.29. Which is our best of the day so far. Andrew Colburn, and followed up by Nicky Korsel in this lovely Pilbeam MP82. 2 litre engine in this car. As we see Andrew Colburn through the S's and across the finishing line very shortly. Andrew Colburn a time of 59.21. Slightly slower than earlier, so Nicky Korsel, mother of Jack, who you'll see in the next batch of cars. Nicky and John sharing this, Nicky and husband John sharing this Pilbeam MP82. They've had for many years. MP82, a development of the MP62, Mike Pilbeam's best or most produced car. This is an MP82 chassis number 4, originally owned and driven by Bill Morris from Wales. Time for Nicky of 60.07, with a good improvement on her time. Steve Marnhill and Stuart Sugden's latest GWR. This time he's got a 1300 turbocharged engine in the car. Stuart out for the first time just last weekend at Gulfstream. And so Steve, co-driving Stuart, just finding it, his feet in the car. 52.72 is an improvement, and 2 more cars to run in this batch, I believe. But Steve Marsh saying the turbocharging certainly gives a bit more power than we had before, and had a few issues at Goldsby last weekend, but he's gradually getting used to driving it. Steve Owen, Mr. OMS, Sherry Harry. Steve Owen sharing Harry Picks, OMS 28 with our Cosworth XD engine. 50.82 for Steve Owen. Followed by Simon Mather and Alex Summers' lovely self-built AFS P4T. Simon from Falkirk. And just given drive in this car. Oh, and Simon was very wide there coming out of the top bend, just missed the barrier on the right hand side. But finished at 51.49, his best time of the day so far. 2 more cars, and Nicola Mingies, Shane Gould with Dave Uren. Nicola, former ladies record holder here at Doune. The tight battle with Oliver Cooper over that record last year. Nicolai up the top of the hill. She's a 48.39. And this is the final runner, and this will be the fastest car of this batch, I'm sure. Sean Gould, owner, creator of this Gould GR59, down in Newbury. Sharing this car with Matt Ryder this year. Matt going well in the championship. Sean, I think he's 7th in the championship at the moment. And he's going across the line in a 44.02. Still not the fastest of the day so far. That standing to Wallace Mingy's. No, Alex Summers, sorry. Alex Summers at 42.42. So that's into that batch. We're into the meat of the major British runners here. Most of these runners coming up, a lot of them you'll see aiming to get into top 12 runoff tomorrow. In fact, you can see on the screen, I'll tell you the paddock, that Dave Warburton and Alex Summers both currently on a 42.42 from practices so far. So Dave Warburton, the 1600cc GR59. They're running number 10 this year because they finished 10th in the championship last year. And this year, in fact, David is sitting 8th in the HillClimb Championship before this weekend's rounds on 55 points. Cars behind him, Paul Hames on 40. Well, Paul is not here this weekend. Paul doing a limited season of British rounds, sticking mainly as English-based rounds. But he did win the top 10 challenge at Gurston Down over the season. So Paul's away, then Jack Cottrell is in 38 points. So as long as David and Jack have a close run thing, it should be David who will be finishing 8th in the championship. And Jack could get above Paul Hames, but of course Paul should be at Lowton in 2 weeks' time, so that would be a variation there. So definitely 8th, 9th and 10th positions in the championship are still up for grabs. So the cars come back down the hill. just queuing up into the paddock. It's quite a restricted paddock here at Doune, and if cars are reversed in as they go down the hill, it does take a bit of time up. If cars can forward drive into their spaces in the paddock, it's a lot easier and keeps the meeting moving quicker. So we've got one more batch of cars in this practice session for the British runners, and then we should get the Scottish runners for their third timed championship run. So here we go, last batch of cars for the British runners today. 96 Gary Hill, OMS 2000M. .88 for Gary Hill. Now here's Richard Matossian, moving a bit out of sequence. And Richard across the finish line, 48.78. Richard Spedding in his GWR Raptor, now running a 1600 normally aspirated Suzuki engine, and a couple of years running a turbocharged version. Lots of difficulties with that, and decided to cut into losses. Big tail wag at the top of Libre. Richard not really running a full season this year in the British Championship. 44.28. Ian Tucker, not championship registered, another of our long distance travellers up from the southwest. And Ian in the 2 litre normally aspirated class. Followed up by David Warburton in the 1600 Gould, currently joint fastest runner today. Ian Tucker at 62.17. Dave Warburton number 10. Smoothly through East Bray and the S's. And round the last corner. And it's a 42.58, so just slightly slower for Dave Warburton. Andrew Henson in the Dallara, modified by Gould. Which Nicola Deard I took up previously. Oh, and Andrew's been pushed back from the start line. So his clock is running, he's been pushed back. Presumably he must have crossed the line with all 4 wheels. And therefore he has been deemed to have taken his run. That's what normally happens. If your front wheels cross the line and you stall it, then that's fine. But if your back wheels cross the line, then that is your run started. No, he's coming forward again, so maybe he thought he couldn't get it started, but he's coming forward yet again. So the clock will stop for him. There's a fail at the moment, and we shall get him running very shortly. Successfully this time. It's still quite tricky, I think, in the first corner. Still a few cars slipping and sliding, but so the hill is not drying out as quickly as we might hope it would do, and times are certainly not improving as much from the second run to the third run as we were doing earlier on between the first and the second runs. Andrew's got the line third in the class after the practice sessions here. We never know time recorded. This time will be recorded from this time. It's a 51.24, which is his best of the day by over a second and a half. Aaron Colborne now on the hill, son of Andrew, driving his Van Diemen ex-Formula Ireland car with a 2-litre engine. Aaron won the first run at Prescott last weekend, and it was quite damp. He loves the wet, he said, so he should do well this weekend. 49.21, and that's a little bit of an improvement, but he's got a long way to go to catch the class leader, who's Jonathan Varley. You will see not this car, but next car after. John also in the hill in the family pull beam again. And then we get Jonathan Varley in the GWR Predator, the car built by Bill White in Aberdeen 15 years ago, originally fitted with an RSV10 Formula 1 engine. If you want to see it in action, there's a video on YouTube. Just type in Doune and Predator. You've got in-car video of what the hill looks like from a top-class hill climb car, and in particular this particular Predator. Nowadays running a 2-litre engine in the hands of Jonathan Varley. Originally he had a PTG engine. Now that's been turned, they changed that. He now had a Terry David built TKD V8 motorcycle, 2 motorcycle engines. Common crank, 45.63, just 300 slower than his second run. Jonathan, the class record holder here. And now we've got another car in trouble, have we? It's William Lockridge's Empire Wraith. Has been pushed back from the head of the queue into the side of the road to see if he can fix it, perhaps. But maybe he just had an issue with the engine, probably the engine dying there. But he's been pushed aside, so obviously he may get another chance. That's William Lockridge in the 1.3 turbocharged Empire Wraith, bodywork designed by Formula 1 aerodynamicist Willem Todt. But now comes the line, look out for this. This is Alex Coles in the another Force TA. This time it's supercharged version. Alex, one of our young rising stars of the hill. Started career in a Formula Ford and took 1L before him that year. Then last year shared his father's normally aspirated OMS 28 before now sharing the car this year. This is Kelvin Broad's Force TA, which Alex is sharing and scoring well in the championship. Purple times regarding great. He's up to the S's. He needs his 43.97 was his first. His second was 44.9. So again, slightly slower for this run. Followed up by Stuart Stirling in the Raptor. As I said, this car debuted in its current version at Golspie last weekend. 1.3 turbocharged engine, very neatly packaged by grey and white. And Stuart, Scottish Hillclimb champion previous years, and also top 10 hill climb finisher 2 years ago when he finished 10th in the national championship. So Stuart Sugden, bit of a twitch to the top of each bray, he held on to it and he now through the S's. Maybe slowed down a little bit for that, but 48.92. That's a good 2 seconds slower than his previous run. Perhaps they just lost a bit of time at the top of each bray. Harry Pick now, the over 2 litre rated car class. Harry Pick in the 1S28, sharing with Steve Owen this weekend. It's a quad with XD engine in this, 2.65 litres. The same as the DJ of Alex Summers. Oh, and Harry nearly sideways at junction there. Held on to it well. Harry, whose father John normally hill climbed as well, but unable to be here this weekend. He's in the programme, John Pick, in Class A2 in the AMS Portaya, but unfortunately unable to make it this weekend. 47.58 for Harry Pick. Again, nearly 2 seconds slower. Lindsay Summers now on the line in the A4. A chat to Lindsay on the line there. It looks as though Simon Mather, co-driver with her, and Jonathan Loudon, start Marshall. Maybe there's something problem with the car. And Richard Summers coming up to join the conversation with battery. We're going to try and start it again. I did see Simon and Alex working on the car at lunchtime. Lots of bits and pieces lying around, but it seems to be okay now. Lindsay lined up, AFS P4T. And Lindsay's away. Lindsay towards junction. Our best run of the day so far according to timing screens. She's a 57.92 on our only previous practice run. This is our second run of the day. Lindsay, who started off motor racing in vintage sports car club events. A bit different now to the AFS and hill climbing she's doing these days. 55.86, which is found 2 seconds there. Jack Cottrell now, another corner with LP engine car. Jack currently 10th in the championship. Had a couple of good runs. A big issue with the fly-by-wire throttle, and they've replaced that now with a cable. Very a few disappointing results recently. The throttle was not engaging electronically, so they decided to disconnect that and put a cable in instead. Not the simplest job, in fact. So Jack now heading up towards the finish. 46.65 for Jack. Dave Doune on the hill. He was the fastest so far in this class. Love the line through the S's there, around the last corner. And it's a 46.92 for Dave. So again, these times are a bit slower. So maybe that light shower we had earlier has put a bit of doubt in drivers' minds, or whether they're gambling on slick tyres perhaps. I'm not sure, I can't really quite see from here. Terry Willis now. Taking quick up to Garden Gate, and then they're losing speed. Trevor was only 62 miles per hour. There's something wrong with Trevor's car, I believe. That's 62 miles per hour through the junction speed trap. It's a good 20 miles per hour slower than Dave Doune and Jack Cottrell. So I don't believe Trevor's car. 55.18 for Trevor. The car is not obviously well there. Will Hall now in his GR59. Again, superstar for Will Hall, 2.24. And he's now heading up to the hill on the section of the day at the moment. He was 4th overall in this class. That's 43.28, put him up half a place above Sean Gould. Alex Summers now, currently fastest in the class and joint fastest overall. Second in the championship last year, round number 2. Fourth in the championship, round number 4. Second this year. And what scores after? And he's a 43.5. Rider. Because Alex is actually leading the championship still. On drop score ahead of Matthew. Just by 4 points at the moment. So Matthew Ryder, number 3. So Matthew, look at his best run of the day. Wallace Mingies leaves the line. Matthew Ryder's time 44.14, which isn't best of the day. Still a good win away from Alex Summers' 42.42, while Wallace Mingies on his way up the hill. Yellow at Garden Gate, but back down to slow time at junction from his previous best. Wallace's best is actually his first run of the day. Pushing a bit through the top of East Bray and towards the finishing line. 43.44. So Alex Wallace there, exactly the same time as his previous run. And they're just the last car. No sign of John McKenzie in the Cortina. This is Tom Wilson in the Mini. And then we're back onto the the Scottish runners onto their third run. So no rest here between runs for commentators and Marshall. They're straight into third set of Scottish Championship runs. Tom Wilson is the last of the British runners, and Alex Howells now the first of the Scottish runners on his third run up the hill. Alex currently in 10th place in the class, and he's called out Jamie McKenzie from class A5. But time for Alex Howells of 69.02 is his best of the day. And he's pushed them. And Alex Howells there is now 100th of a second ahead of his wife Jenny, who's still to run. Jamie McKenzie, 56.61. Jamie McKenzie does improve on his time. Yeah, then the William Walkeridge, who I say was pushed back before he could get to line in the British runners, and he's always having his practice run of 48.53, followed by Jody Gordon, class leader, on a 55.87. Then we go back to after Jody Gordon. We're down to Stuart Robb, who's running in Class N in the British Championship runners. Time for Jody Gordon at 55.47, his quickest of the day so far. Extends his lead over Graham Shea by another 4/10 of a second. So Stuart Robb now up the hill in his Pilgrim MP57, 2.8 litre Hart engine. Two of these cars are produced in period, MP57-1. Oh, and Stewart's now followed the Gary Warren path and back through the mud. So there's a more mud to be swept up here, and it also damaged his nose at the front and taken off the front wings. At least one of the front wings anyway, but 58.87 for Stewart. So followed the Gary Warren trench up over the top of East Bray, and that's a time for him, but 8 seconds slower, and he is competing also in the British Championship classes. So a little bit of sweeping coming up, and we should still have one more runner in the Scottish. Nope, we're coming down the hill now, so Michael King is possibly not appearing for his third Scottish Championship run. Hopefully we'll see a repeat of the Stuart Robb incident. The Marshall's sweeping up, being disturbed by the cars coming down the hill now. I think they're slowing him down because they're pulling mud at the top of East Bray as well. Cars are picking up mud on their wheels, so they'll be taking it cautious. They are still running on treaded tyres, top runners, so maybe the track a bit slower than it was earlier, and this mud will make it even slower. But then they don't have to run again today. The British runners are finished now, and we'll see them again tomorrow morning. So the car has now been taking their time to go through the marshals do a bit of sweeping there. They seem to have finished the bulk of the sweeping, so the car's being allowed to carry on down the hill. Last of the car, Stuart Robin, in fact, going back down the top of his bray. He did leave behind some bits of car. He ran far enough off the track, the top of his bray, to I think maybe ding the barrier, and maybe his front wing I think is off the car. And yeah, he did finish the run, or what it's worth to him. But here we go, a replay on the screen now. As he goes up, he just follows the path that Gary Warren took and comes back on right through the muddy patch with one wing missing. Then that muddy patch takes the next bit of wing off, and there could be a lot of damage there as well. But Neil lives down the road. I'm sure he could go home and either repair that or pick up one of his other cars. He does have a Pilby MP88, it's a big V8 engine in it, which you could use. And he's also got a TVR Tuscan, ex-TVR Tuscan Challenge race car, which he terrorises the V8 championships down south with. As I said, he was able to take Jimmy Harris's car back along late morning, early lunchtime to fix it. So I'm sure he can maybe do it for his own car as well if he wants to. But coming down, looking a bit, I think probably the nose cone tucked underneath the car. But yeah, not the best of runs for Stuart. He he was quickest of the day back at Bowness, the revival meeting at Bowness a few weeks ago. and has been British Sprint Champion in the past, as is his son Stuart Robb Jr. So now we're waiting for the next batch of Scottish contenders. Which will be the completion of their championship round today. The best time of the three will be taken as their counting time, and each class scores championship points. Each division for this road, modified, competition and classic also score points across the division, and then there's an overall championship where times across all classes are taken into account. And the overall championship, you get 20 points for a win, down to 1 for 20th place. The divisions and the classes are, the divisions I believe are 10 down to 1, and the classes are also 10 down to 1. So lots to aim for in the Scottish Championship. Even if you're not winning in the division, you can win in your class. Ian Thompson, the championship coordinator for many years. Massive spreadsheet he has on the to look at, and keeps everything in order. And here we've got one of the successes, I think, of the class this year is Ewan Bruce in his MG ZR. And by spies tell me that Ewan was very close to barrier, if not hit the barrier at Oak Tree on his last run. Both Ewan, Bruce and Rostic touched the barrier around Garden Gate, Oak Tree. So Ewan was obviously trying there. His time on his last run was a 63.14, not as quick as his first run time of 62.36. Bit quicker through Garden Gate this time, and half a second quicker up through Junction. So can he get close to his class record? So it's 51 rather, going through the S's, and should have been 10 seconds from the S's to the finish line. And it looks like a good run here, is it? No, just out, 62.30. Best of the day, and just 0.48 from his class record. So Ewan will win the novices class of the Scottish Championship, I'm pretty certain. So that's that. Now we're into the 400cc saloon car, and it's Ian Wright. Ian Wright in his Honda Jazz, 4th overall. Moment, and safely up through and over East Bray, 50.8 to the S's, and a 61.10 is his best of the day, but still leaves him in 4th position. Sam Shaw at the June meeting had a flirt with the barrier at the top of the hill, which pushed him across the track towards the shrubbery. Fortunately managed to avoid the trees and came back on track, and the car is now obviously fine fettle again. Trying hard over the top of East Bray, bit of body sway on the Volkswagen Fox. And his best time was a 68.7, and that's a 68.9, so he will remain in 8th position at the moment. Graham Shea, currently second in class in the Ford Fiesta. He'd also 49, sub 50 in the S's. He's a 59.24, and it was a pretty rapid run there, but a bit slower again, 59.94. As we see John Hamilton in the Mini, who was 6th overall. But a good nearly 3 seconds slower than the man in 5th, Peter Lawton. So just trying to put a bit more time between himself and Antti Reid in the Datsun Cherry will follow him up. And it looks like 64, 65, 65.26. So again, slightly slower than his second run. Antti Reid in the Cherry, followed by Peter Lawton in the Peugeot 106. Antti Reid was 7th in class. He needs to find a second more or less to get, near a second and a half to get ahead of John Hamilton. He's been improving from Antti. 65.69 is his best of the day. Peter Lawton, the Peugeot Rally, followed up by the first Calar in Class A2 with Andy Smith. And Andy Smith followed up by Derek Rothney. Time for Peter Lawton was a 61.10, which is about exactly equal to Ian Wright's time. They are both equal, but on second best times, Ian Wright takes the 4th place in that class. 61.37 as opposed to 61.93. Andy Smith time is 60.93, a good improvement for Andy, who's a visitor. And Derek Rothney. Derek Rothney pushing through the edges there, certainly contending for best road car today. 53.55 is slower. Cars now, and we're going to look out here for Tommy Rapson and David Reid. So Thomas Rapson leads his class, and after the second round ahead of David Reid and Tommy Rapson. They're only 1, 2, 3 in the road division. So Tommy Rapson on his best run at the moment, according to the sheets. And the purple, which means class leading at junction. So he's going to find half a second. He's going to have his son Thomas, who follows him up the hill in the Subaru. So 2 Rapsons on the hill. Tommy heading towards the finish, still in purple back through the S's. And 52.3 for Tommy Rapson, takes him up to the top of the class. So what can Thomas Rapson do? Followed by Henry Simmons. So Thomas is Subaru, looks quick through junction, into the meadow. And quick at the bottom of East Bray, on the right hander there. So he's in purple sectors as well now. So he's going quicker than Dad at the moment. Can he hang on through the last corner? Oh, bit of twitch there, and has he saved it? Yes, he has. 51.43 for Thomas Rapson, takes him back up to the top of the pile. That's a good target now for David Reid, whose time was a 52.74, but with Henry Simmons in the Renault now. Henry Simmons at 60.36. Brian Hunter and David Reid is now waiting to go on the start line. So he needs to get into the 51s to beat Thomas Rapson, who's in 51.43. Brian Hunter on the hill in his Mini. And a good improvement for Brian. A good improvement for Brian Hunt. No, as the last run, 61.27. Brian Hunter's time this time is an improvement again to 60.03. He's taken above Henry Simmons. So David Reid now is not in a purple yet, still in a yellow only. He's on his best run, but not quite on the purple times through junction. Through the S's, he's a bit slower than both the Rapsons at the moment. So let's go 53.26 for David Reid. So after excitement there with Thomas Rapson coming back to beat his father, David Reid slipping back in that run to third position. We're now going to Lovett Fraser, who's in class A5 in the Raw Striker. 58.05 for Lovett Fraser. These are in third position in the class. Now Jim Sugden in this interesting GTM Libre. Second in class behind Neil Ross in the Porsche Boxster. Bit of an even battle there. But this GTM Libre, uncommon car. I have actually seen one down in Wiltshire, Gurston Down. There's a car, a light blue version, complete in the classic March Sports Championship. So Neil Ross on the hill, Stuart Dow follows him up in the Caterham Hayabusa. Neil Ross setting purples for his class. Jim Sugden's time 66.49. Neil Ross followed by Stuart Doune, then John Welsh in the Westfield. Neil Ross, purples for the class, 58.05, his best of the day, and wins the class. Stuart Doune pushing on through a junction, only himself to beat at the moment. And yep, safely through S&D's break. And he's got a 51.93 to beat. That's a 52.24. As I say, competing against himself. Yeah, I've just been reminded, Stuart Doune actually the best of the day at Forestburn recently against all the other single-seaters. So Stuart Doune, well experienced hoofer of the Caterham. John Welsh to the Westfield up to the top in what looks like a best time for him so far. And it is by a couple of seconds, 62.45. And back now to the up to 1700cc road sports cars. And it's Guy McKenzie. He's got a line second to his brother. And in fact he stays there. So a good improvement from Guy, but 56.28 as against his brother's 56.04. Kenneth Sutherland. We haven't seen Ross Sutherland today. So it's Kenneth Sutherland competing against himself in this class. 61.25. His best time so far. Just slightly slower, 61.64. So heading back now to Class A1 and this inter-family battle between Jenny and Alex Howells. So Jenny moved into 9th place ahead of Alex the second runs. Alex then took 100th of a second off Jenny's time. You can see it on the screen at the bottom of the class there, 9th and 10th overall in that class. So Jenny is going to find 200th of a second to get back ahead of Alex. Well, she's 58.46 to the S's, so I think she might struggle to get below 69.02. Yes, it's well past that already. There's a 71.91, so obviously she fell down the hill. And the last runner, I think in this batch now, Colin McLaughlin, third in class. If he can find, it's 8/10 of a second, he'll just pip Graham Sheep for second place in class. So he's doing better time, so he's doing his best time so far. Through Junction. And through the S's, he's doing better than his previous round, so can he find that 8/10 of a second to get ahead of Graham Shee? Yes, he can. It's a 58.64 for Campbell Gordon. So it's a 1-2 for the Gordon family in Class A1. So look at that class, first in class is Jody Gordon at 55.47, and second in class Fowler Campbell Gordon, 58.64. Third is Graham Shear, 59.24, and fourth Ian Wright. Equal time with Peter Lawton, 61.10. Both a better second run, 61.37. Peter Lawton takes fifth. Sixth overall is John Hamilton with 64.76, and seventh Antti Reid, 65.69. There's Sam Shaw, 68.70. Alex Howells, 69.02, and Jenny Howells, 69.03. The over 14 up to 2 litre saloon cars, we've got Derek Rothey at 53.12, ahead of Andy Smith, whose best was a 60.93 on his last run. Now into the ever-changing over 2 litre saloon cars, and it's Thomas Rapson, the Subaru, who takes the class at 51.43, ahead of Tommy Rapson at 52.30, leaving David Reid in third with a 53.26. Fourth place, best of the rest, is Brian Wilson, 56.38, Simon Rothney, 57.65. Sixth place, Brian Hunter, coming through well at 60.03. Seventh is Jim Howarth, 60.18. And eighth is Henry Simmons in a 60.36. In Class A5 for road sports up to 1700, it's Jamie McKenzie who wins that, the 56.04, ahead of Guy McKenzie, 56.28, and Lovett Fraser, 57.76. John Welsh wins A6, running himself, the Venture 62.45. In the Mark Road Sports cars, Neil Ross wins that, the 58.05 over Jim Sugden, 66.49. And we're now waiting for the rest of the cars. We haven't actually seen Michael King in the Mazda for his third run. We'll have to wait to see if we see Jim King. And the only other class we've had I presume, since we've seen Stuart Dow, I presume we won't see Jim King in the Mazda. Stuart Dow won his class, running by himself in a 51.93. The eventually Class 6B or B6, Kenneth Sutherland was running by himself, 61.25, and so the next cars we should see will be Mark Rennie, and the unless we see Ross Sutherland, will be Mark Rennie, Colin Robertson. In fact, Colin Robertson, the first car, then Mark Rennie, John Ramsey, and then to Sports Libres and racing cars. So that's Colin Robertson off the line in his MG3. So this is Saloon Libre. Been separated out this year from Sports Libre. And gives the very much modified saloons a chance to compete amongst themselves. MG3, which is probably look a bit more standard than the other two cars in the class. Ford Fiesta of Mark Rennie, and then John Ramsey in his Vauxhall Nova. Yeah, and Colin Robertson very close to the cone on the exit of the S's there. Really cutting it fine, but 60.10, and that's no quicker. Right now in his Fiesta. Always run right at junction. Just if it's raining up the hill now. Wipers are on. So, and the screen is showing wet, so in fact the top of the hill is now getting rained upon. Marshall are well togged up. So obviously rapid conditions top of the hill may not be conducive to beating your time, but Mark Rennie is certainly trying hard and does indeed set a faster time than he set earlier. 58.32. There's John Ramsey. And yeah, his wipers on as well, so maybe an interesting choice for people to take their third run or not if they have got a good position so far. And apparently John Monroe tells me Ramsey kissed the inside barrier at Oak Tree, which is a tricky thing to do, but got away with it. And John Ramsey's time was at 56 seconds exactly. So not as quickest, but still wins the class from Mark Rennie. They're into Sports Libre. David Littlejohn in the Radical. Got the second in class, but need a couple of seconds to beat Martin. 63.93. So that's a lot slower. Martin Chittenden in this Pulsar front engine kit car. And Les Johnston in the Davrian Imp. And 59.78 for Martin Chittenden. So I think it's definitely getting wetter up there at the top of the hill. Charlie Fraser in the Spire Sports Libres over 1800, the only entrant in the class. Les Johnston now through the S's. Wins also getting up. Just finishing this just in time. Again, Les Johnston a lot slower than his earlier runs. Martin Chittenden wins the class. Charlie Fraser. And followed up by Archie Kerr in his little 600cc OMS Hornet. Charlie Fraser's 55.71. So cars running with 2 seconds slower than they have been in the second runs. Archie gingerly through the junction there, just feeling his conditions. And in contrast, he's followed up by the first of the classic cars. It's Alexander Snedden. And in fact, off camera, apparently Archie Kerr had a bit of a slide under braking. Into Garden Gate. Alexander Snedden cruising up at 66 points. Archie Kerr, 66.32. So a much slower run for Archie. Alexander Snedden followed by Richard Morris. As 82.81 for Alexander Snedden. As Richard Morris presses on in this Spitfire bodied GT6. And the camera and the meadow getting more drops of rain on it. And I'm going to say thanks to Marshall for standing up there at top of Beach Bray in these conditions. To Marshall, the top of Beach Bray at Doune in September. You don't know what miserable is. Tom Marr pushing on in the midget. Richard Morris, 78.88. Which leaves him in 6th place in class. Tom Marr, the midget's currently 3rd in class and will probably maintain that position. 68.13 for Tom Marr. I suppose one car he won in the rain is Riley 1.5. Won the best presented car at the British Hillclimb last year. And he's going to be, he's currently 5th in class. Again, unlikely to improve. 72.84 for Jim Brown. And here is class leader Stephen Muir in his Odyssey Sprite. Best time so far for Stephen Muir, 59.17, but that's gone. And it's a 63.46. So I think that's us for that class. No sign of Graham McCabe or Alex Hazelwood. John Cow in the Ford Anglia, leading class D2. And John Pace in MGB GT will follow him up the hill. John Cow, 64.31. That's as against his best of 63.96. That's not much slower for John Cow. How about John Pace, the MGB? His best is 64.80. So we have to beat that by half a second to win the class. and some of the single seaters coming out to play. So John Pace 68.03. Tom Graham. Tom Graham and Leslie Sheridan on the hills at the moment, going back to the single seater class. So time for Tom Graham is 66.49. Followed up by Andrew McCaskill, who's lying third in class, but a good 3 seconds behind Charlie Forsyth in second. Again, Leslie 54.49. Stays in fourth position. Oh, and Andrew McCaskill spins the top of his spray onto the outside verge. Managed to avoid the Gary Warren route by spinning, but he's come to a halt on the outside at the top of his spray. So the recovery vehicle on its way up the hill to rescue Andrew. So that's a failed run for Andrew McCaskill. And I'm not sure, we had Charlie Forsyth was given a red flag. He was trying to make up some time on Gary Dixon, but in these conditions, that may be doubtful. The recovery vehicle's on its way. The car of McCaskill is pretty undamaged, but he may have some damage we can't see, and he may have just gone into a bump that makes it impossible to shove. But the recovery crew are there now. I'm sure they'll get them out quite quickly. We're nearly finished today. We've only really got a possible 4 more runners, and that will only be if they all come and take their runs. Those would be Charlie Forsyth, who's been stopped and given a red flag, Gary Dixon, who doesn't appear to be in sight at the starting line, Charlie Forsyth back down to the start line, and then we've got John Albiston and George Cohill, who may not want to risk their precious machinery. And in fact, we're told McCaskill has been pushed off. He's going down the hill now. No problem driving down the hill. That just leaves one car to go. And that's Charlie Forsyth in the 130R. Car's been around for about 20 odd years, and called 130R after the famous corner at Luca Grand Prix circuit. But now we've just got Charlie Forsyth to have his attempt, and then that will be the last car of the day. a mixed day today, weather-wise. Never really dried out the track at all. So our fastest time of the day overall, 42.42, as shared by David Warburton and Alex Summers. So that's a good 8 seconds away from the hill record. And as you can see on the screen, as of F1Q, David Warburton, Alex Summers, 42.42, Wallace Mingus, 43.03, Will Hall, 43.28, Richard Spedding, 43.43, Sean Gould, 43.44, Alex Cole was in 7th, in the 4th, 43.97, Davey Red, 44.12, and Matthew Ryder down in 9th position at the moment at a 44.14. But as I say, it's only practice today. I'm sure the drivers will have learnt from today to take into tomorrow's timed runs. And here we now have Charlie Forsyth coming up to the line to take his and our final run of the day. Tim Thompson getting his hands dirty on the front wheel there of Charlie's car, while Jonathan Loudon is up the hill, and Charlie Forsyth away off the line. So keep on the track, Charlie, and we'll get on with the prize giving. So coming through Oak Tree, fairly central. And Charlie Forsyth through the tunnel and up to the junction. Oh, a bit of a tail slide there, just out of junction, but all safe. So hopefully he'll negotiate East Bray without any problems. He is through safely, just about. Tail wags out at the top, through the S's, through well away from the cone, round the top, right-hander, and over the line, burst of spray over the line. That's a 52.33. So that's actually the slowest run of the day. So that class, in the end, won by Gary Dixon with a 48.68. From Charlie Forsyth, 49.67. Andrew McCaskill, 52.62. Ledger Sheridan, 52.78. Archie Kerr, 59.66, and Tom Graham, 63.18. The classes that we're not see all the runners in, the classic sports car class, road going class. Stephen Muir, the winner there, 59.17. Graham McCabe, 64.06, did take his last run. Tom Marsh, 66.54. And Alex Hazelwood, 67.18. John Cow won the modified classics, 63.96 to 64.80 for John Pace. And on the thoroughbred competition cars, George Cohill, 50.73. From John Albertson's 56.24. So that's the end of the first day's action here at Doune. We start again tomorrow morning at 8:30, and we have the British Championship, 4 runoffs, 2 tin tops, 2 British Championship runoffs, more runs for Scottish Championship runners, and a more live streaming for you all. So please join us again tomorrow for the live stream. Thanks to every who's endured today, particularly marshals on the hill and the volunteers who helped in the paddock. Thanks to all the organisers, thanks to the medical teams, and thanks to drivers and their supporters for coming to Doune and for enabling us to run this meeting this weekend. So we shall all see you again tomorrow. There will be a prize giving, I think, today for the Scottish runners. I wait to hear and give more details for that shortly. But once again, thanks very much from Doune, and we'll speak again tomorrow.